Hi, so you'll notice I'm not in the gym because I'm actually talking about resistance bands and you. Yes, your workouts at home, how we can do it. So first, let's have a look at the different kinds of resistance bands we have. We have what I like to call a mini band, so it's a small loop. We have our long resistance bands. We have our handled resistance bands, and we also have our power bands. So they all come in different strengths and there's no unity across brands. It's literally going to be dependent on what you have. If we're lucky, we will have, excuse me, that's my washing machine going off. You'll have a thing that says like light. Don't take too much notice of the 5.5 kgs or whatever it says. More if it says light, medium, heavy. This one, for example, says strong. This red band here is part of a pack. So this is, you'll be able to tell the lightest one with power bands because they'll be thinner and then they get thicker along the way. So hopefully if you have bands, you'll be able to, it'll tell you what's the lightest to the heaviest. Also, sometimes you have one, that's okay too. The beauty with resistance bands is when we're using them in our workouts, we can actually make each exercise less intense or more intense by moving towards or away from the anchor point. Which brings me to my next point. Anchors. So whether we are doing our resistance band work, holding the band, or it's meant to be tied onto something, we want to make sure it's really secure. So one of the things is if we're using our feet, is to have some nice shoes on. You can try it in socks or bare feet, but it's probably not going to be as comfortable. So, for example, if we're doing, say, some sort of row, we might have it around our foot. Now, in this position, our foot is our anchor point. Our anchor point is where our band attaches. Sometimes we might do things more like this, where our anchor point is one hand and other hand. Where your anchor point really matters is when it needs to be attached onto something. So say I'm doing this. I know I'm doing a lot of rowing moves, but it's a really good way to see the different ways. Say I'm doing this with one of these bands, a long band, then I'm going to have to attach it to something in my house. That's where these come in, because I'm sure you may have a gym in your house like I do, but most of us don't. And this can convert any door into a gym. So come with me while I show you some pointers on how to use your door anchor. So we've made our way to my hallway because we've got a couple of doors here. Firstly, I'm going to show you what not to do. So we're going to head in. This is my bedroom. We're going to head in and you can see we've got a door here. Now, I could essentially put an anchor in this door and work out on this side, but what will happen is I'll close that door. Then if I'm pulling on the band, this door may fly open. So we want to make sure we're safe. When we're using our door anchor, we want to use it in this position. So we have the door. Everyone say hi to Jono. So we have the door anchor there. So we close it. So when we're pulling, we're actually pulling the door closed rather than open, just for safety. All right, so let's go through how to put your door anchor in. So your anchor point is going to be dependent on what exercise you're doing. Have a look at the exercise and see if I'm using an anchor point, and see if you can see if it's, normally you'll be able to see if the band is straight in front or if it's down low or if it's up high. That's going to give you the idea for an anchor point. I'm going to set up for a kneeling row here. So for that, I want the anchor point sort of just below my shoulders. So I'm going to come to this door that opens away from me because we're keeping safe. You're going to chuck this part, so you want the loop facing you. Chuck that in there. And then this is where the talent comes in. You've got to kind of flick that through while closing the door. So I sort of get it to there, then maneuver it where you want. You should be able to then close your door. Sometimes it'll take a little bit of gusto because you are locking something in there. And then before we start, we want to give that a good pull. Make sure it's good to go. Then we can do our exercise. So your anchor should have a loop. And then we're able to just loop the band through. Come on back into our position and do our exercise. As you can see, it's nice and safe because I'm pulling towards me. The door cannot open. Although if you do live in a house with other people, making sure no one's going to walk through that door is also probably a safety issue. This one has a lock on it, so I could lock it just to double check. So that should be everything you need to know about resistance bands and door anchors and working out at home. If you have any questions, you know I'm here for you.